it down right now. SEC stories every play, every time with Rob Browne breaking it all down. Yeah. SEC Sidelines Sports on my mind. Rob Browne calling game time, highlight shine, executive mind. Brendan Martin keeping Rob in line. Like, subscribe, share it, tell everyone. Sideline Sports, y'all come back real soon. Same place, same time, same tune. From the booth to the field, every Saturday feeling your home.
Woo! Man's hot today, son. It's hot. I was out partying with him last night. They're crazy. That lead singer, I'll tell you, he's nuts.
Yeah, they're the forest people.
Yeah, well, they don't mess around. That guy, he's got quite a story.
He does. He's got a great story. Hey, look, Rob Browne in Memphis, Brendan Martin in Ocala, Florida. Awesome lineup today. Jason Caldwell, one of my favorites, one of the best people you will ever meet from Auburn Undercover. It's a 247 thing that they do all year round. They don't ever really stop covering.
Never.
There's always something in season. Oakley McFerrin, the intern from the Plains, is on with us. Jake Wimberly, ESPN 105.9, The Afternoon Drive in Jackson, Mississippi, joins us. Our second half hour, Dudley Dawson, Inside Arkansas, and Vince Ferrara, the sports animal in Knoxville. Do us a favor. Share it, like it, subscribe. Brendan's right. Just smash that button. It's simple, but that means the world to us. It's how this thing grows, connectivity. And you remember, 8 channels live streaming. So, look, Hour of Power is it's underway. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. And I got to ask Jason. Jason, watching this Auburn basketball team play throughout the season, and Oakley, you go to those games as well. Last night, go on the road, get beat 91-79 at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's struggled all year long, but then you get 4 points out of Todd Pettiford. It's consistency or lack thereof, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wrote a column that said that lack of consistency strikes again. That's it. I mean, look, they've shown they've been good enough to beat Florida and Arkansas, and you've done those things. It starts defensively, and look, they're just not good enough. They've given up 50 or more in a half 5 times now this season. I mean, they've given up more than 50 points 5 times in a half. And one of those, again, last night at Oklahoma, and it's 3-point shooting and the defense. And, it comes to a point where you look, hey, guys, you're not good enough to do what we're doing. We're going to do something else. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like it's past that point for me. We're like, look, they can't do these things, or either they don't want to. Either way, it doesn't matter. They're not executing what you need them to do defensively. So what do? You try something different, or you just sink. And right now they're sinking because, they respond and have a decent half, but it's too late to respond. And when you're down, 2 out of the last 3 games on the road, they've given up just monster numbers in the first half, and you're not going to win.
Yeah, and another one. You look at this team, I mean, there were only 2 guys back from last year. It's hard being a head coach. Have you had a chance to talk to Stephen Pearl about how big a difference that 18 inches to the left is?
Yeah. No, not really. I mean, they're just so busy doing these things. I know that it's difficult. And listen, I said before, look, new coach, it was going to be difficult if Bruce Pearl's coaching this team or Coach K or whoever it was. Yeah. But again, it's all new. And it's all new and it had limitations. Listen, I don't think Tahad is a true point guard. Thought he fit really well with a team last year that had the inside presence because he's going to be more of a scorer. He's just not a guy that creates and facilitates a bunch. And then you don't have a true big. Keyshawn Murphy's been good, but listen, he goes from 25 points the other night to he only had 4 shots until the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game last night.
Yeah.
And so, you start looking at it and going, look, it's just all added up to them having a really difficult season when you played a really difficult schedule to go along with it.
Yeah.
And so now your back is firmly against the wall, and see how they respond.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, this is going to be a hard coaching job for anybody in the country, replacing 10 or bringing in 10 new guys, and not only to match with that, also having the number 1 strength of schedule in the country. But yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to effort on defense, because when we played Florida, we showed we're capable of playing defense. We played great defense throughout the entirety of the game. And last night, against in a must-win game, when you're right there on the bubble, you can't allow a team to shoot 70% from the three-point line. You'll never win a game that way.
Yeah. Jason, what Oakley just said, 70%, and then you get 4 points out of Tahad Pettiford. You've seen a lot of basketball, and the schedule's difficult. So, Stephen Pearl, how do you think this season plays out for Auburn? I mean, they're on – I hate that term, the bubble, but they're on the outside right now trying to get in.
Yeah, you look and it goes, how much does strength of schedule factor in? How much they look at those losses and the things you're doing? And look, they got some quality wins when you think about NC State and St. John's, obviously Florida and Arkansas, some of those. But you look at it and go, look, you know, too, you got to have Ole Miss and LSU, so you got to get to 8. But after that, we'll see what happens. But you got to get to 8. I think if you get to 8. Then it probably puts you. Listen, the conference tournaments don't matter now in terms of seeding. We've seen that. It doesn't matter if you win a tournament, you're not going to move up a seeding line. Where it does matter is for the bowl teams. Yeah. Where it does matter is for those teams trying to separate themselves. And so I think if you're Auburn, you get to 8 and 10, and you win a game in the SEC tournament, I think you're probably still going to be in the NCAA tournament. I think that's going to be good enough. But you've now put that in the hands of somebody else and taken it out of your own control, and you never like to do that.
Well, you look at it, too, the league last year, I mean, you had Dylan Caldwell. Those guys don't come along very often. You had so much age and experience. And Oakley, a couple of weeks ago, Jason was on here talking about older is better. And that's a relative term. But, Oakley, you were young as a freshman in college. And think about it, when you were a freshman, if you've been going up against Dylan Caldwell on the basketball court, it's night and day.
Yeah, I mean, experience, especially in college basketball. I mean, in all of college sports, is what matters the most nowadays. And, I mean, last year we had a team where everybody kind of fit their role. We almost had 2 of everything. This year it's not the case. We have a lot of good individual players, but they don't fit together, and they're all playing a little out of position.
Yeah. Yeah. I might want to reconnect, Oak. We were losing you there for a second. Jason, I want you to also talk now. You know, we got spring practice about to start. You've got baseball. Butch Thompson was on with us last week. I mean, gotta love him. And I think you're great on the air for baseball.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're just like Cameron, man. I tell Cameron, I've known Cameron since 79. I was a kid. I used to call WAUD, but that guy is a baseball junkie. Not that Andy's not great, but this baseball team, they go out there to Arlington. What are they, 6-1, 7-1 now, sitting there at number 5. Butch just got to like the role, and Gross and Nunemaker, this staff that he's got there, they've been together a while. I think they know each other. Yeah,
you know, you look at it, and the familiarity, continuity is one big thing. That's part of it. And you're talking about second-year guys, and I was thinking about a guy like Bristol Carter. He transfers in last year, had some injury issues, and just didn't have the season he wanted. Now he's year 2. Kind of reminds me of what we've seen at Denver Jones and that basketball team last year. And you think about year 2 for some guys and year 2 for a Jackson Sanders on the mound as a pitcher, and it's just such a different feeling. And so, went out and look, you're going to take lumps in baseball. That's just the way it is. We saw it last night in this league. I mean, last night in this league, LSU loses at home to McNeese. Not even in this league, Georgia Tech loses at home to Georgia State. Arkansas gets blown out at home by Arkansas State. Baseball is a game where you're going to lose. That's just reality. Auburn lost a midweek game to Cincinnati last week. There will be losses that come, but you're looking for consistency. And again, we're just talking about it from basketball perspective. Day in, day out, do you know what you're going to get? And look, there right now, they want to throw strikes, have a good approach to play. And when you consistently do those things, you're going to give yourself a chance to win most days.
Yeah. All right. Flipping to football, we got a lot going on. Alex Golish, performance-based contracts for your paycheck, which is how the real world works, and they want to be treated like pros. What differences have you noticed? I want to get your thoughts on that, and then I'm going to go back to Oakley because he's a student there. But, Jason, I like that, man. You know, you produce, you eat what you kill.
Yeah, no, I think it's, until we can get a salary cap and a true salary cap, because obviously you look at it and there's nothing about what we're witnessing right now, anything close to a $20.5 million salary cap. I mean, in Texas LSU, some of these teams are going to spend $40-45 million on a football roster. So because of that, you have to approach it in ways to go, look, we will give you the option. You're going to have the opportunity to go do this and earn money, because, what's funny is that it's absolutely pay for play. But we threw that out with the bathwater a long time ago. That's been gone a long time ago.
Yeah.
But now you go, look, okay, hey, look, we're going to give you an opportunity. And they gave that opportunity to some of the guys that chose to go somewhere else. They're look, we're going to give you the opportunity to earn X amount of money if you do the things you're supposed to do. The problem is other people go, we're just going to give you that amount of money no matter what you do. So try to be creative, try to make guys earn it. It's a little bit of the Indiana model. Now, you're not saying you're going to go out and do what they did, but it has the feel of how they did things, which is bring in familiar guys, bring in familiar coaches, kind of build some team around them, continue to recruit high school players, and heavily recruit the line of scrimmage. It feels like that's going to be a focal point.
Yeah. Oh, another question for Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover.
Yeah. With this upcoming football, what is the position group that you would like to see progress throughout the spring and into the fall? Maybe which one do you have the most question marks about?
Yeah. You always have probably the most question marks about offensive line, but it's also the one that takes the longest to figure out. I think it'll be middle of August before we figure out what it looks like, but they've given themselves some options, which is a big deal. Probably the thing you'll see the most in the spring is going to be the wide receiver group, because you rebuilt it basically completely. Yeah. New quarterback, new system, new coaches. That's one we'll be able to probably get a better feel for. We won't know about the offensive line for a while. We can get a feel for the wide receiver group from a talent standpoint, physicality, catching the football, all that stuff. So that's probably the one I'm most looking forward to in the spring, because I just don't think we're going to know a whole lot about the offensive line for a while.
Jason, when you look at the offensive line, did Auburn hire an analyst who was at Alabama? Talk about that hire. Yeah,
no. When you talk about bringing in a veteran offensive line coach to help out a group of guys that are all new, you think about Tyler Hudnick, Coach Hoodie. Is a guy that he's going to coach guys, but you have so many players that you're trying to figure out. Having another set of eyes and another set of experienced eyes is massive. And so I think it was a huge deal, to bring in a coach like that and to add to this staff. And that's what you can do now in the world we're living in.
Yeah. And you were the one when nobody else was, you were the lone voice in the wilderness saying Auburn wasn't signing enough under Gus. They had 11 or 12 offensive linemen, LSU, Georgia, Bama, 18, 19, and 20. This offensive line room, does it look like an SEC offensive line?
Yeah, I think you got the numbers that you need. And you look, they're going to continue. They just signed 5 high school kids. So you go 5 high school kids. You had 3 leftovers. And so you have 8 younger guys that you're talking about. And then you had, I don't know how many it was, 8 or 9, maybe 10 from the portal. They went out and got a bunch of guys. So your numbers are closer to what you're supposed to have. Yes. Now, can you keep the young guys? Can they develop? And that's the challenge now, and that's the difference now in college football. The LSU's, the Georgias, the Alabamas. All of a sudden, those young offensive linemen, if they don't play in year one, they're going to be the starting center at Miami, because that's what we just had. Yeah. And now Alabama and Georgia are playing true freshmen on the offensive line. Didn't happen before, and it impacts them. They're not as good. Can you keep those guys, develop them, get them through your system? That's now the challenge that everybody has.
Yeah. Next week when you come on, I'd like to kind of get into the high school football, recruiting, because it's almost being left in the rearview mirror. But normally you'd be talking about the top 33 in the state. But anyway, we'll do that. But let people know how they can follow you, because you put out a ton of content all over social media and on the Auburn Undercover website.
Yeah, you can check us out, auburnundercover.com, part of the 24/7 network. Got a ton of stuff going on, kind of looking back at basketball. Christian's doing, recruiting and doing some of those things, guys to watch for. Obviously, baseball tonight at home against West Georgia. Then Nebraska comes in this weekend, which will be a really interesting series for them. So got all that covered at Auburn Undercover, and check me out at ITAT Jason.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a great week, Jason.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. That is the pride of Sylacauga, Alabama. And Oakley, in case you don't know this, and Brendan, happy birthday, Brendan, today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
One of our favorite people and the best executive producer in Western civilization and all civilization.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. 21 years old again. So
first beer.
Well, I'm excited. Yeah, it's my first beer, and I'm excited. I went out with the band last night.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, we got it. We hung out, and they don't like the name The Touchdowns.
Well, Brent, Oakley, have you heard this band that plays our theme song? You heard the opening song, didn't you?
Yeah, I've heard the song. I don't know what band it was.
What?
The band of SEC Sidelines Sports with Rob Browne wants to wish a big happy birthday to Brent.
What?
Martin.
Boys, you didn't have to do that.
Really? A man with the mic at 8 a.m. sharp, streaming coast to coast like a 5-star spark. From Gainesville Heat to
I love it.
No, they played this jam last night. I got up with them and I was like,
sure you did.
Damn it, boys.
Brendan, you are super talented.
Yeah, baby.
Look, Oakley, we got to come up with a name for the band.
Yeah, we do.
The Safeties.
How about, I was thinking the Forest people.
The safety, they like the safety clips.
Yeah.
I thought that's not going to work. 52 and still breaking news, Rob Browne. Okay?
I love it. And we got news to break because I'm thinking Jake Wimberly will be in the green room in just a second. Come down in Jackson, Mississippi, the bold new city. Jake, it's Happy Birthday Brendan Day today, and we're trying to come up with a name for the Sidelines band. He called them the Touchdowns. We don't know what to call them.
They don't like the touchdowns. They want to. They said maybe the safeties.
Yeah,
the safeties. Sure. They're band guys. They want to be different.
We could call them the Ballers, the Gamers, or whatever like that. Jake, going on.
We'll call them the Rob Brownes.
Yeah, no, it's a team effort here, my man. But I want to get your thoughts, Jake. Lot going on. You are a big, numbers and metrics guys and analytics. I love talking the numbers. We got Oakley, the intern, on here, the birthday boy, Brendan Martin. You do a great show every afternoon, 3 to 6 in Jackson, Mississippi, folks. Put the app on your phone, ESPN 105.9, the afternoon drive. You ever been to, whenever you go and listen to a show with Jake, it is planned. They've got the guests, the segments lined up, stacked up like an air traffic control. Tons of great content. Football-wise right now in the state of Mississippi, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Southern Miss, by the way, number 12 in the country in baseball. But looking right now, you're a big football guy, but you cover all the sports. What are the general themes, the narratives that your callers down in Jackson, Mississippi are asking about with the Bullies and the Rebels, the Golden Eagles, and whatever's on your mind?
Appreciate you guys. Happy birthday, Brendan. I love the look. You look very Top Gun-ish today.
I feel
that's fantastic. Yeah, how about, before we get into that, how about Red Zone Rowdies? And I'm just pulling one from the hat there.
Wow.
I like that
one. I think that's a winner. Yeah, that's the one. That's the current one in the barn.
There you go. So, it's interesting. We get several calls. We get a ton of texts because we're very active on social and text lines like you guys are. And, the themes are, first off, basketball is non-existent in this state. It's just both teams are not good in the SEC. Southern Miss is not good. So Ole Miss fans, their shift is obviously to, football and Trinidad Chambliss coming back. Mississippi State is all in on baseball. As a matter of fact, and Southern Miss, of course, having a great start to their baseball season. I think they're excited about their football coach and about what they could potentially do in the Sun Belt this year. But I posed the question yesterday, and it took about 2/3 of the show. I said, is there any support for Jeff Lebby? Any support for Jeff Lebby? And finally, we got 2 texts from two fans that said, yes, we support Jeff Lebby. So you've got two varying fan bases. One that's all in on baseball in Starkville, and they're very lethargic with football. And you got another that's all in on football. And, if Ole Miss continues to win, if they continue to win in baseball, Ole Miss, obviously will show up. But that's kind of where the focus is in this state right now.
Well, and then last year, Ole Miss was so close to making the Elite Eight. and you got college baseball. The state of Mississippi is myopically focused on college baseball. And you know, Oakley, you're there in Auburn. I hope you get out there to Plainsman Park every chance you get in the outfield in between your studies. You know, studies make men wise. Athletics make men strong. Character makes men great. The Auburn Creed. But Jake, looking at right now, I'm surprised Levy's not getting support. But then again, we should be winning right now. Is the Indiana ball, is that starting to be felt everywhere? Because I would think now, well, Indiana did it, and they were the worst team in the history of college football.
I think there's something to it, because what people do is they look at recruiting rankings and they say, well, Indiana, you know, their 4-year average is, you know, like we are. We're like Kentucky, like Mississippi State, like South Carolina, like Rutgers. Kurt Signetti, a good coach. Why can't we just go find a good coach like that and regurgitate that whole system? And I just don't think I mean, look, it took us this long to get this, to make this happen, for Indiana to make it happen. Nobody else made it happen, but they did. So I think at the base level, yes, there is some of that. Hey, if they can do it, we can do it. But we saw, I mean, it's rarely done. Indiana just did it. And I don't know that anybody else will do it moving forward.
All right. Jump in questions. Jake Wimberly, he's in Mississippi. And, of course, you got LSU fans. You got all kinds of fans you're talking to.
Yeah, I mean, bouncing off that, I think the Indiana situation has really given a lot of fan bases, or maybe some programs, a lot of false hope, thinking they can go out and get a good coach, get a little bit of buy-in, and they can go win a national championship. But the X factor is Coach Ignetti being one of a kind, and this is probably not something that's repeatable. But I wanted to get your whatever. Sorry. I wanted to get your point of view on with Trinidad Chambliss, where all that sits with he gets rejected, then he's suing again. How do you think that battle will end out?
I think you'll see him play. I think the NCAA, you know, they made a statement last week or 2 weeks ago. You guys probably saw it, but basically paraphrasing the statement saying, hey, look, we're going to continue to go after these guys. And even if they're gone, we're going to go after the school. And, you know, their idea of discipline is, hey, we're going to take away wins. We're going to take away trophies. They even threatened Indiana. I don't think these schools care about that. I mean, look, if the NCAA said, hey, we're taking Indiana's championship out of the record books, I don't think Indiana would care. They have the trophy sitting in the trophy case. They got the rings on the fingers of the coaches and the players' wives and coaches' wives. So, but as far as Ole Miss is concerned, I think Trinidad Chambliss will play this year. That gives Ole Miss one of the better backfields in the country. The question is going to be, you know, what is the offensive coordinator? How does he adjust? You know, in the SEC coming over from East Carolina, does that offense look the same? I think defensively they'll be fine with that defensive staff and Pete Golding. But Ole Miss, you know, their schedule gets much tougher this year. But I still think they're one of the better programs in the Southeastern Conference. And with Chambliss coming back, I mean, you could argue he's the best quarterback in the conference.
Is it fair when people say, well, Pete Golding won 2 playoffs, got him to the semis, but that was a holdover staff pretty much. A lot of those guys are at LSU now. Rank that staff. I mean, how strong is it? There's got to be some new people that we don't know about.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, Ole Miss's staff with Lane Kiffin was, you know, 3rd in the SEC, you know, behind Georgia and maybe Texas or somebody of that nature. That I think you have to at least set them back to about middle of the pack, at least for right now, until they can prove it. You know, again, what does the offensive line coach look like? What does that defensive line look like? What does the offensive play calling look like? Does the schematics of the offense put the defense at a negative? For instance, we know that the offensive coordinator for South Carolina likes to run a lot of pace of play, a lot of tempo, a little more so than what Lane Kiffin does. So, you know, we got to see that whole thing mesh, but I would put them back in the pack until we can, you know, I think right now, Texas, Georgia, even Oklahoma, really interested to see the staff at Auburn and how they come together. I think that's got potential to be really good down there. There's a lot of really good football teams right there, you know, that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I think Ole Miss is going to start somewhere in there, and we'll see if they can make that climb again.
Yeah, and this was supposed to be a better year than last year. And of course, last year, they didn't also have Trinidad Chambliss on the radar. I don't think anybody was talking about him. Great name. You being a civil engineer, great name for the band could be the Plumb Bobs.
I like that. You know, I haven't touched a plumb bob in probably 25 years.
And Oakley, and Plumb Bob, you know what that is, Oakley? The tripod that you see when engineers are out there.
Yeah.
That thing yes. being the son of an architect, I have a lot of that engineer stuff in my head. Got a lot of engineers that watch this show every day. All right, another quick question. Right now, who do you have in the leader in the clubhouse? You know, we talked a lot with Bartu on this show about the Sark effect. He underachieves, underperforms the talent everywhere he is. Give me your top 3 going into the league next year, and then Oakley, I want to hear yours.
Yeah, Bartu is right on that. As far as, you know, the big picture, he kind of has James Franklin himself. Let's just say it like that. You know, James Franklin, he'll win you 10 games every year. He's going to drop, 2 against formerly from the Big Ten, Michigan and Ohio State. We'll see what he does in the ACC. I think he's got a chance to make some movement there. But back to Sarkisian, I would put probably Texas number 1 in the SEC. I mean, you look at, there's several teams that are, being estimated as, quote, $40 million rosters. That's kind of been the talking point this week on some of the big sites like On3 and others. I mean, you look at Texas and you look at Texas Tech, Texas A&M, you look at Ohio State, and probably Georgia. But I would say, if you're making me pick up the top 3, I'm going to go Texas, and then I'm going to go Georgia. And I don't think there's a dime's worth of difference between the two. And if you're making me pick a third team, I'm gonna go LSU, just because they are one of those teams that are close to $40 million in a roster spot. I think, if the quarterback from Arizona State, Sam Leavitt, is healthy and has a good spring, he's going to have several months with Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin has shown that he can really, really dial quarterbacks into great spots. So I think it's LSU is number 3.
Okay. Oh,
yeah. I mean, I have the exact same top 3. I think Texas is just, even though we say Sark always underperforms, they're just too talented. They went out and got the number 1 player in the portal in Cam Coleman. Arch Manning's back for another year. They got 2 of the top 3 running backs in the portal. So I think they're just, too much talent to fail. And then again, Georgia with Kirby Smart, you get Gunnar Stockton back for another year. And, Georgia's always going to be up there regardless. And then I had LSU as well, because I'm betting on Lane Kiffin with a veteran quarterback. They also got one of the top receivers in the portal, and Jace Brown from Kansas State, who was probably a projected second-round pick coming into last year. But a 4th team I would give would be Oklahoma, because they have John Mateer coming back. A lot of people forget how great John Mateer was. He was probably one of the Heisman frontrunners before his thumb injury.
yeah.
Then you pair that with Venable's defense, which is going to be top 5 in the country. So I think they're going to be a dangerous, not a sleeper, but a sleeper to win it for sure.
Yeah. Jake, one more question. I know you got a busy morning. Looking at the big picture of college football.
I just wanted you to see your plum bobs. I got a whole variety for you.
That brings back a lot of memories right there.
Yeah.
It really
That's
does.
right. That's right. In engineering, E-Day still at Auburn. Someone will always get to the 8th floor of Haley Center and drop a carton of eggs from the top, and they won't break. Oakley, make sure you attend E-Day this year. It is a cool event. All right, Jake, one more. Give me your top 5 college football teams you've got right now going into the preseason, and we'll follow up on that next week again with more. But great stuff with you as always, JW.
So we're starting to work numbers, but I don't have any of that. That'll be, obviously there's some numbers, but as far as the full predictions and stuff, we're still a couple months away from that. If I'm going top 5, I look at Vegas and what they have, and believe it or not, I think Notre Dame is probably the best team coming into the season. They have really put a lot of money into their program. That's a great staff. And as a matter of fact, Vegas has Notre Dame as the early favorite by just a little bit to win the national title. So if I'm going early, I'm going to go Notre Dame, and then I'm probably going to go Texas, and then we'll go Ohio State. And then I think you got to look at Georgia. And then believe it or not, guys, I'm going to go Texas Tech, because I think Texas Tech is setting on a gold mine. I think, but when you get to Texas Tech, you could throw Indiana in there. You could throw LSU in there. I think you could look at a team possibly like Oregon. A lot of people like Oregon. As a matter of fact, I would probably move Texas Tech and put Oregon. We'll do that real quick and just put Oregon in the top 5. So Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, and Oregon. But then there's other teams like Tech. Watch somebody like SMU out in the ACC. I don't know that they can win the whole thing, but they are really, really good, and they've got a ton of money out there. And then, Michigan is a very interesting story this year when you look at, getting a football coach that looks like what he did at Utah. That head football coach is really, really good. And then USC, there's a lot of chatter about USC. They have put a ton of money behind that program the last 2 years. Lincoln Riley is vastly underachieved out there. he's going to be on the hot seat. So the storylines galore. I think this thing, front end to back is going to be wide open. I think there's probably 7 or 8 teams that could win this thing this year.
All right. I love all the drama. How do they follow you?
On X is the best way. Jake Wim. Just look it up. And, of course, we'll be on today 3 to 6. And then we'll be getting ready to go to the state of Louisiana. You talk about baseball, Rob, big high school baseball classic going to call this weekend. And then we got a ton of high school basketball championships mixed in with baseball and football and everything else. It never stops.
I love it, man. All right. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Happy birthday.
I need to roll as well.
All right. Oak, look, all right, we'll get you next week on your top 5. Thanks so much. Great stuff as always. Okay. All right. We got the green room right now. We got Dudley Dawson inside Arkansas, Vince Ferrara, the sports animal. Vince, the hologram. I'm seeing half of you.
AI Vince.
It's like, oh boy. I don't know what's going on there, man.
Where's the bear?
Coffee.
Yeah, where's the bear?
Hey,
There's the bear. We got a disembodied head.
Yes, that's right. It's like Henry VIII. Oh, I'm
the
Henry
internet
VIII.
can handle your green screen there, sir.
Holy cow, we got to get Vince.
I didn't set up the green.
Take
I don't know how I got.
Chill gummies, some energy gummies, and I'm gonna tell you what, the lights out gummies. Don't take them in the morning though. They're for night.
You've made that mistake.
I know. Yes. And look, if you got aches and pains and you have trouble sleeping, try this Hemp for Pros, this roll-on. It absolutely works. It makes you stop hurting so you can heal. I love this stuff. Hempforpros.com. We got to get Vince back, but we got Dudley Dawson. Dudley, you ignited a fire last week when Brendan and I were talking to you. Yeah, we're heading toward a Major League Baseball lockout in 27 over all these salaries. And, we talked to Jordan Davis Hill, 247 Sports, covers Georgia for us yesterday. He's a Braves fan. We got Braves Nation on the eastern flank, Cardinal Nation on the western flank, and Rays Nation on the deep south down in Florida. But let's talk quickly some baseball. There's Vince. I know Vince had a staff meeting. By the way, Vince, thank you so much because you have pulled over on the side of the road to do this show. That means a lot. We respect that a ton. And so
dedication.
Yeah, he is a true badass. Dudley, real quick, baseball-wise right now, you're certain a lockout, but we're gonna play this season. But I ask you about these salary caps. Do you think that the people that run college athletics are looking at what's going on in Major League Baseball and saying, we better do something? Because could you imagine if we had a lockout in college sports? What would we fans do?
I'd watch a lot of Perry Mason and some other good shows. But no, I don't want it to happen. Is it headed toward that? The colleges usually follow the pros in many different ways. So it may. I'd hate, for that to happen. But I guess if it did, I'd go back to watching Korean baseball, which I did during the pandemic. Had to have some baseball. Had to have it somewhere. So that was I adopted teams over there.
Yeah. Well,
banana ball. You're not going to banana ball?
Oh, I will always go to banana ball. I love it. You've seen my banana ball shirts and hats. I'm all good.
That's right. I thought that would be your stock answer.
Yeah,
what
it's like the Globetrotters of baseball. I love it. The people who don't get it, I don't want to be friends with them.
And friends got me turned on to banana ball. Look, Vince Ferrara, sports animal up in Knoxville, folks. Tennessee fan, college fan, a fan of being a fan. You need to follow him as well as Dudley and all these guys. Vols last night go on the road to Missouri. Man, tough loss. Vols have 10 conference wins. How deep a run you think Tennessee is getting ready to make into the NCAA tournament when they get there? How far can they go? What do you think?
Well, they were trending in a way to where I think they were right there. We saw as the two teams in that second tier behind Florida, who is on its own level in terms of how deep they could get in the NCAA tournament. So they were trending in the right direction. And then last night they reverted back to some things that they hadn't been doing in a while, turning the ball over a lot, getting baited into 3-point shots. They just weren't their bench guys weren't good. Last game they had maybe their best bench game. Now they had maybe their worst bench game. They had 4 guys off the bench totals 0 points and 5 turnovers. I mean, it's tough to win that way. And when they're at their best, they're not overly reliant on Gillespie and Ament. And unfortunately, they were last night. And those guys were outscored by the 2 best in Mitchell and Barrett for Missouri. Tennessee also couldn't defend either of those guys one-on-one. The zone bothered Tennessee. So there were some alarming things that came out of that game. Can they improve on it? Yeah, they could get it back. Maybe it's just one game. Well, guess what? One game gets you beat in the NCAA tournament if you have the wrong matchup. And NC has not been great against zone. So guess what they're going to see more of moving forward is the zone. Now, Missouri has very unusual, and Dudley knows this, Missouri has unusual length. They're the tallest team in the Southeastern Conference. So that really bothered Tennessee. They didn't have enough answers. So, I think they could win some games in the NCAA tournament, but I think there's too many things that can suddenly revert back that in order to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament, the best teams don't have those things. So I'd say maybe Sweet 16-ish is where I'd put them right now.
And that's a pretty good deal. I mean, remember when Sweet 16 used to be the thing that all the coaches went for? What I would say, he encompassed it very well. But I have to give it a lot of credit to Missouri. They are a tough team to play. As he said, they've got a lot of length. Mitchell is real, and they did this just a few days after coming here to Arkansas, and we're right here with Arkansas at home until Darius Acuff does what he does, and
right.
Billy Richmond. So I'm going to give Missouri a lot of credit, and Dennis Gates a lot of credit in what they did in bouncing back. That's hard to do, and when you do that, I think sometimes it gets what didn't happen for the other team gets overtakes what Missouri did in standing up and playing with urgency, which I think is what you have to do the tail end of this month and all next month.
Yeah, no question about it. Vince, Dudley, both of y'all are great at putting a lot of notes together. You are a true grit journalist. Start with you, Vince. Run down what's hot at Tennessee, what we need to be talking about, maybe what we're not talking about that you know about that we need to be talking about. That's a lot.
Well, Tennessee basketball certainly it's up there, and fans have when they win, then things kind of quiet down, and I think the fans that have been supportive and not critical of Barnes, then that's who you hear from. When they take a loss, then it's the football mentality that comes out, and you get everyone just completely panicking to it. I do think last night, because Tennessee had alleviated issues, that I get a little bit of frustration there. But look, basketball is game to game and week to week, so they can get some of those things back. So basketball is at the top. Spring football is almost here, a couple of weeks away. The biggest story was Joey Aguilar and getting denied in his seeking of a preliminary injunction. So he's at the NFL Combine. He had gotten an invite. He has 30 days to appeal, but depending on what feedback he gets, he may not. He may decide, hey, let me just pursue my pro career, especially because he's older. And, Brent Hubbs from VolQuest had told us when we had him on earlier this week that, a lot of those appeals in the state of Tennessee take a long time. So are you willing at his age to wait a long time to have an appeals heard when you don't even know if it's going to go in your direction, when the original injunction hearing in your backyard with Tennessee fans all inside the courtroom didn't help you? So, probably he will continue. He will pursue his pro career. But it's amazing. It's been surprising when there have been polls and stuff like the TV show, the Sports Source that I do on the local ABC station on the weekends. John Pennington has done a poll on that, and it's not overwhelming that fans wanted Joey Aguilar back. Some were fine moving on, and because they have two talented young quarterbacks, they're just inexperienced. So I think that continues to be the top story that we'll be following is what does that quarterback room look like? Is it McIntyre? Would Faison Brandon, the 5-star, be ready to rock and roll? And if so, when? So the football will always be at the top with hoops right there. There's been a lot of discussion about Kim Caldwell and the Lady Vols and the way she has reacted. The whole I have a team that quits on you, things like that. She kind of walked that back. She took some praise from some people and took criticism from former players. And Dawn Staley said, if I was her, I wouldn't do that. And you have Candace Parker defending her, getting on the LVFLs that are the former players that have been critical of the program. And, Andrea Carter had pretty strong comments on game day. So that Kim Caldwell and this Lady Vols program going south here quickly, that's been a big topic. And then Tennessee baseball is back. Tennessee lost the weekend non-conference series, which never happens. And so fans took the football mentality of that and basically we should have kept Tony and, Danny White and, so you can't take that football mentality to sports that play as many games as baseball and basketball. But, that's something that we've also seen around here.
Great lesson. Dudley, same thing up at Arkansas. What all's happening up there? You've put out a ton of content, you and Vince both.
Well, I think, obviously basketball is playing well and has a game tonight with Texas A&M at 8 o'clock. I don't think those games should be allowed as I get older. I think we should start at, maybe I should have dinner at 4 and then they could start the game at 5.
That's right.
would be good. That's what I'm trying to work on. But the basketball's doing well. Baseball, obviously, anywhere from number 4 to 8 in the country. They lost to Arkansas State last year. Congratulations to Mike Silva and what those guys are doing over there at Arkansas State. Again, I'm crediting and the other team instead of, so people are already, panicking. We always have a certain group over here who panic. That's definitely now not a team that's going to the College World Series. Probably won't even finish in the top half of the SEC, yada, yada, yada. Baseball is a great game, and you get great pitching, and you give up a grand slam home run in second inning that your center fielder misses by about 2 inches as he's jumping up to get it, and then here you go. So I think they'll be fine. But I think the biggest thing that's probably under the radar but was important here now is when I was on the show last week, Arkansas had 13 coaching spots but just 11 coaches. They have since hired Mitch Stewart, who was there with Coach Ryan Silverfield at Memphis to replace Clint Trickett, who went from being the quarterback coach here at Arkansas to the offensive coordinator at Maryland. And so picked up Mitch Stewart. He's familiar there. And Landarius Williams joined the defensive line, co-defensive line, staff with Kent Cotton. And after Marion Hobby moved to the Indianapolis coach. So I think it's important. And I don't think a lot of people get the fact that this is such an important recruiting time. You just had, December stuff. You just had the portal. But, man, these kids are making their cut down on their list. They're getting ready to make official visits in the next couple of months. And lots of recruiting is done by the summer. So I think it was very important to get all 13 coaches in here and working. As soon as you come in that dead period in March 2nd, you better take off running. And especially when you're in the SEC.
Yeah. Remember the days when we all know this was going on. The dead period, you couldn't contact recruits and they'd all go to the big superstore. You pick it. The coaches would buy burner phones. They're not going to be able to track me. I mean, like nowadays, it doesn't matter, does it, Vince?
No, it doesn't. And just to add to, as Dudley was talking about the coaching hires there at Arkansas, you'll appreciate this, Rob, being such a history guy and knowing your SEC history, especially. Tennessee made their 4 new defensive coaches available to the media last week for the first time. Yeah. And Tennessee is great at that. I've told you guys before, the number of interviews, players and coaches, Heupel, all those coordinators that they make available is tremendous and probably as good as there is in the SEC. So that is definitely appreciated. So we got a chance to hear from Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator, also Anthony Poindexter, who will run that secondary, and then also and be kind of a co-defensive coordinator, even though Jim Knowles is the guy. And then Anthony Jackson, who came over from Penn State, and Derek Jones, the latest hire, who was at Virginia Tech. But with Jones specifically, to my connecting it back to you, Rob, is he worked with Jim Knowles at Duke. And Derek Jones has a lot of connections to Tennessee. One of them is David Cutcliffe, who he worked with at Duke. And he said that David Cutcliffe would always be in contact with Philip Fulmer. He had Johnny Majors go talk to them at Duke. So he had that connection to Tennessee, stayed in contact with Phil Fulmer. He would use the maxims, the General Neyland maxims that Tennessee had, and they would apply those and use those because David Cutcliffe had such a respect and history for the University of Tennessee. He also went to school with Kevin White, who is Danny and, he worked for, Kevin White, who's the AD there at Duke, Danny White's dad and Mike White's dad. He went to school with Mike White. Now, Georgia basketball coach and was at Florida, obviously Danny's brother. So many connections. They would be in touch with Pat Summitt and use and get her expertise in coaching and apply that at Duke because of David Cutcliffe. So many connections with the program, and it's really cool that Jim Knowles has brought in guys that have not only connections to him but connections back to the University of Tennessee. Fans love that kind of stuff.
And I would add, same thing's kind of happened here at Arkansas. Ryan Silverfield has made it a point not only to recruit Arkansas and get offers out to kids in the 2027 class and obviously landed the 2026 guys, but he has done a wonderful job in reaching out to former players, drawing them inside of the program. There was some acrimony with a few guys that, I think was earned in terms of not having them in the program. And I think it's very important to honor your past while you're trying to build your present. And I think that's happened with him already. He's still got to win football games. That's how they're going to judge him. But I've been very impressed with everything he's doing in terms of culture. And that's a big word you can use all over the place in terms of culture and in reaching out to fans and media in realizing, this coaching football is part of the job, but entertaining the fans and it's a different type of entertaining, but entertaining the writers and radio guys is an important part when you take over a program that is on its knees.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, I like what Tennessee's doing, media availability. When we were all coming up, you knew every assistant coach. You got the right stories about them for the student newspaper. You had them on your radio show, TV. They were available, accessible, and the fans knew them. I mean, we all remember the day on the post-game radio, you pick at Tennessee, Auburn, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, an offensive and a defensive coach, at least they did on the Auburn network, had to go on there and take calls from fans. And, man, it was, whoa, thank God for the 7-second delay, because you'd always have the guy that was liquored up down in Slap Out, Alabama, down there around Greenville. They get on there and go, by God, I tell you, y'all cost me. You gave up that late touchdown, screaming at them. And those coaches would come off of there like, shit, man, I can't do that anymore. But here's what I think is going to happen. I think people get caught up in forever. We will go back. You watch what happens. You're going to see smart coach. Ryan Silverfield is one of the most media-friendly people you're going to see. And Josh Heupel is one of the most likable people you will be around. I think y'all would both agree with that. I am really tired of the nasty vitriol and with a lot of the fans about these coaches. Once you get to know them, it's completely different. So I want to start with Vince. Did you all get to see any of that? I'm going to call it a Dean Martin roast in the modern day with Fulmer and Spurrier and Kirby Smart, Mario Cristobal, Dan Mullen. We need more of that, man. I mean, laughing at each other and messing with each other. I do it with my friends. I've got friends of every school you can imagine. I love them. I just want to beat them. Vince?
Yeah. I did not. I saw it on timelines, but then, without audio, so didn't have a chance to get to it. Calling baseball last night, but and then watching the basketball game. But it looked like something refreshing. Which, to your point, we need more of. We need less of Mick Cronin getting mad and alleging people to raise their voice and always being irked about something. If your team performs better, then you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Or if they're not performing better, maybe look interior as opposed to blaming other people when things aren't going wrong with a bad attitude.
Yeah, Dudley, your
personal responsibility has always been a tenet of my life, and I think Mick needs to take some of that. I could say several things, but I'm going to stay out of that today.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is that my dad used to let me watch the Dean Martin roast with him. My mom wasn't a fan of him letting me do that, but I learned a lot of words and how much not to drink when you're public speaking and all that kind of things. I love those things, back in the day. And I am very much, Lane Kiffin can do a lot of things and he can brush a lot of people wrong, but I love the having fun, and sniping at each other every once in a while. Certainly I've done that over the course of my career.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's
But I
good.
do it with respect.
Yeah. Well, in the Dean Martin roast, I mean, you couldn't get better than Foster Brooks. He probably didn't really even drink. Getting up there, roasted Don Rickles, and he goes, I was seeing your wife, Mrs. Pickles, and Don, let me tell you, you need to get some more scotch. Right. And you can't, we got to start laughing at each other. Way too many people serious out there. And you know one thing, Vince, I think the Steve Spurrier, Philip Fulmer relationship is cool. I love Spurrier when he was coaching because I love super competitive people. I mean, I want to win in everything I do. Everything. I'm OCD, and that probably is why, but still, I don't win at everything, but I want to. And Vince, Steve Spurrier in the 90s, college football was so much fun. And having y'all on here, you're both students of history, but you're true grit journalists. And I love tell a story real quick. We got a few minutes left. Tell a quick story about something good happening that people need to be paying attention to, because I am damn tired of all the whining and complaining of fans. Oh, the game is ruined. It's not ruined. These are potholes in the road of life. You keep going.
So are you saying that Dudley and I need to be more competitive and like jab at each other?
What are you trying to say, dude?
No, I'm talking about the coaches with each other.
You and your hips, man.
Yeah.
No, I just think Steve Spurrier and Kirby Smart, that Mario Cristobal, they're people. I mean, God bless. They've got wives, kids, and we want to win, but we have dehumanized a lot of people is what we've done, I think. Fans across the country, especially with social media. Put your name on there. Don't hide behind some anonymous moniker. A moniker. That's today's word.
They have humiliated me. I will tell you that.
New word.
I've gotten my ass kicked by the fans, so I don't have a whole lot of, and I'm a fan. So that's part of it. Like Dudley said, if I'm not ribbing somebody, I'm not watching sports.
Yeah. Vince, your thoughts on that? That's a great point.
Yeah, I'll just say this in terms of one little story. Jim Knowles, when asked about Josh Heupel, said he's as real as it gets. Like, he truly is interested in you as a person, and he's not about me. He's not about just offense. Coaches that have their side of the ball are just want to focus on that. He said he wants to have the entire team be really good. And he told the story. He said he himself picked me up from the airport and he took me to his house, and we had dinner and hung out with the family. He said that hadn't happened before at any other place that I had been, where the head coach himself came and got me, and then we went to his house and visited. And he's just a real authentic guy. And he said that's why he connects with his players, because he's just himself. He's not a coach with a massive ego. And so I think that was a nice little behind the curtains on Heupel.
He's
And
from
I think
Aberdeen, South Dakota, by the way, I might add. Dudley, similar
in this
story.
day
in
and
Arkansas.
age, especially with the landscape of college athletics, we have too many players who think too much of themselves, listen to their agents, listen to their lawyers, listen to their hype. Darius Acuff played 50 minutes last Wednesday, scored 49 points. Tremendous thing. He came back here, played Saturday night, didn't have as good a game as that, obviously, but he stayed after the game and signed autographs for almost 45 minutes. And that's just not, you don't see that these days. So, as much as I am a fan of the young man from Detroit and what he does on the court, he gets it. And so often these days, I start covering kids in the 9th and 10th grade, and they're all, "Oh, we love you," and I can talk anytime. Then as they get hyped up in 11th and 12th grade, it's hard to get a hold of them, or they start to feel themselves too much. Darius Acuff is an example of what you need to have on the court, but especially off the court. He didn't have to do that. That kid's about to get a kid getting $1 million plus now or whatever, but he's about to get more next year.
Yeah.
And I find that warms the cockles of my heart when some kid from Detroit takes time to give some kid from Farmington, Pea Ridge, the thrill of his life by getting an autograph after the game.
Yeah, and I'll say too, one thing about Ryan Silverfield, my niece is a nurse at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital in Memphis. She said, "Oh yeah, every week he would bring those football players down to the hospital, and they would start coming on their own." And she goes, "We're going to miss that." Vince?
No, I was just going to say, Acuff is the anti-Darren Peterson at Kansas. The saga that they have in terms of his availability and kind of the way you kind of introed your story, Dudley. Acuff is available. He plays hard, does the off the field stuff. Vocal personality. I mean, Darren Peterson says he's a loner, an antisocial loner. Clearly, he listens to people around him instead of making decisions on his own. Just unfortunate that Kansas with that team has to wonder, day in and day out whether they have him in their lineup. And Acuff definitely is so different in a lot of ways, and really fun to watch for everybody.
Bill Self is one of my closest friends in the coaching profession. He's from the Eddie Sutton tree. We've spent a lot of time together. We don't talk about Darren Peterson. I would like to, but I'm not going to do the professional thing there when I know the personal thing might get him in trouble. Because I can't believe I see his face. Like I said, we hadn't talked about it, but I see his face when these things happen. I mean, Darren Peterson, I may be hyperbolic on this, but it appears to me he can't walk from the locker room to the bench without cramping.
Yeah. Well, hey, great stuff. It's one of the best shows in a while, guys. It's so much. I love the insight. Dudley, Dawson, Vince Ferrara, Jake Wimberly, Oakley McFerrin, the intern, Jason Caldwell, executive producer, the birthday boy, Brendan Martin. Let me say, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. We're so blessed beyond belief. Next time you're in a store, pick up a round for a first responder, for a veteran. Ain't many World War II veterans around. One got the Veteran Medal of Honor last night, as did the chief warrant officer. You know what I'm talking about. But look, check out all of our sponsors, sidelines.live, landersfordmemphis.com, Hewlett & Dunn, Rumble Boxing, My Town Roofing, hempforpros.com. Man,
Ladies and gentlemen,
I love this.
Live from the SEC Footprint, the band of SEC Sidelines Sports with Rob Browne wants to wish a big happy birthday to Brendan
One more time. Thank you, everyone. I figure it's good, Brad. It's good radio to repeat, right? We got to reset. I figure we go out with this, boys. That's my boys up there. What was the name Jake Lim gave to him?
The Plum Bobs or the Red Zone Rowdies. Red Zone Rowdies.
All right, boys. We'll see you next week.
Thank y'all so much, man. Two of the best guys you will ever meet. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Look, that's the best part.
I love it.
Birthday candles, now stadium lights. Another year winning media fights. Executive producer with the champion plan. Happy birthday,
Thank you. Love you.